I started in
Crazy.
2016.
Crazy.
And in that time, like, I know that you do rent to rent, you've got a course coming out, and we started off in rent to rent as well. And we built that up, and then we started buying properties, and we built up a multi-million-pound property portfolio in the last few years.
Crazy.
And yeah, so it's been
Amazing journey.
yeah.
But yeah.
Welcome back to the Property Strategist podcast. Today you're with your boy Kenny. Who else is in the building?
Got your brother Akin in the building.
And we've got a very, very special guest with us today, but I'm going to let her introduce herself. Who are you?
Yeah, I'm Stephanie Taylor, and it's great to be here today.
Oh,
Hey.
great. You know, we're very happy to have you here today. You know, we've been trying to, lock down dates for a while, but we're happy that you finally come down all the way from Wales.
Wales,
Which
guys.
is not a joke.
No,
It's not a joke.
It's a
you
big
know.
4
thing.
hours in
I
the
like
car.
this. I like this. I like
But
this.
guess who I'll be listening to on the way down?
Hey, guys. Guys, I mean,
You know,
I think we're blowing up, guys. I think we're blowing up.
It doesn't take much to make my head big. It doesn't take much. But,
If I was a different complexion, you see blushing, but I'm quite dark skin, so you don't see that right now.
So we're here today to discuss your journey, really, because this is part of our Women in Property series. We've got a lot of listeners here that are women that would like to hear your story and could possibly be inspired by it. So we thought, let's start. Let's go again, and let's see where we go with this one. So if you could just tell us, who is Stephanie?
Yeah, so I'm Stephanie Taylor. I'm a property investor, and even saying those words,
I'm a property investor.
I'm a property investor. It's so cool because I know you guys. You said somebody was teasing somebody on the podcast the other day for being 30. Well, I'm adding quite a lot of years on. I'm adding quite a lot of years on. In fact,
Really? I thought you was 35, no? Oh, okay. Okay. I just sneak it in there, yeah.
Actually, my son is 30.
Oh, wow.
I might know him.
Yeah, you might. You might. I doubt it because he's in Birmingham. So
Okay.
But he. So how I first was growing up was as a young teenage mom on benefits, thinking it would be amazing. It seemed like a dream to be able to have my own property. So it just seems incredible now to have a property portfolio.
Wow.
And the other thing we were talking about before we started rolling is that some of you have actually been doing it for longer than I have. I started in 2016.
Crazy.
And in that time, like, I know that you do rent to rent, you've got a course coming out, and we started off in rent to rent as well. And we built that up, and then we started buying properties, and we built up a multi-million-pound property portfolio in the last few years.
Crazy.
And so it's been
amazing journey.
But
obviously you took us from beginning to end, but I want us to really bring it back and really hear the whole story, because I think when you speak about your humble beginnings and then you can actually give us like some practical steps of how you've done this, then I think at the end of it, people can actually see, number one, there's no age limit on when to start or start this stuff. You can be, 18 in your 20s, you could be in your 50s. It doesn't matter. It's more about just actually starting. So it'd be good to just hear about how you started, and then and we can kind of dive in deeper into the journey. So where was your first? What was your first introduction into property, basically?
Yeah, so I was 45, and that's the other thing that I love about what you guys are doing, because the sooner you start, the sooner you can get to where you want to go. And really learning property and learning other investment strategies, it's the steps to freedom, really are.
That's it.
My life's blown up in so many ways because I've got so many choices now when I get up in the morning of what I do.
Amazing.
And also, like, you can feel like you're giving. But how I first found property was, I was quite older in life, so I was 45 when I first came across it. And what happened was, when I first came across it in a way where I felt like I could do it, but obviously I knew that people were investing in properties. But what happened was, my mum got ill, and one morning she called me up. And I was trying to dash her off the phone because I was in a hurry to get to work, and I worked in Bristol at the time, and I had a presentation that day, and I sort of didn't give her a lot of time on the phone, to the point where, when that people start apologising for calling you.
Oh, well, yeah.
So
you was that kind of corporate person.
I was just sort of thinking, I just wasn't giving her the time. My mind was in another place. And so I got to work and did my presentation. It all went well. I was sitting at my desk in the afternoon thinking, wow, you know, you did so much better than what you thought. There seemed to be really good engagement. Go you.
Yeah.
And then I thought, oh my gosh, what about Mom? Oh, and then I just started picturing it. I could just imagine her just sort of waking up, feeling a bit off, just wanting to reach out to get a bit of connection and have somebody say, everything's going to be okay. I love you, whatever. And she got me. And it just made me think, what would I be able to do if I had a different kind of life where I could just, you know, go to Birmingham and be there, and what about if she got sicker and she needed more help, and also what about if she was well and I just wanted to see more of her, and I just thought, what kind of a life is that? And I realized it was like business or property, and I didn't think I could do business because I didn't, it just seemed like it was some mystical thing where there's all these people who know stuff that I don't know, but what I did think after I heard about, I started going to property events. When I thought property could be a way, I started going to property events.
Yeah. Did you see someone in property that made you think that property was, you just always had it in the back of your mind?
Well, it just seemed like it was easier than business in my head. So, because I knew all these people, I just thought, hang on a minute. I know people who accidentally got rich in property.
You know a lot of them.
Accidentally.
We have a lot of that.
They just bought a house. It went up in value and what have you. They took it from there. And I thought, if there's people doing it accidentally who are normal, what I thought of normal people I could relate to, I thought, well, maybe I could do it if I tried to do it deliberate. And so I started going to these events, and obviously I was blown away. You know how a lot of people are. The first time you realise that actually you can get started in this stuff. You don't need to have loads of money to get started. And that's when I heard about rent to rent and all of the other strategies. And I just thought rent to rent was the one that resonated with me the most, because I thought, you're managing a property, and I saw lots of people doing it badly and making money, and I thought, I could just do it with care.
Do a good job. You know.
And I think this could work. And I was a bit scared at first, but I just kept that thought, I can manage a property. And I knew that I would be able to do a good job. Even though at the time I didn't know anything about how to onboarding your tenants, how to managing an HMO, what all the HMO rules,
regulations
and all of that. So it was quite a steep learning curve.
So tell us about your first, so was it rent to rent that was your first? So tell us about how you got that, how that went.
Oh my God.
And you obviously started the business with your sister as well. So tell us how that came about, and then obviously the first deal as well.
Yeah, well, my sister had a different background to me, because she'd always been successful in her career and business, and she was working at banks at quite a senior level. You know, where they get paid the big bonuses. Those people's salary. But she was an administrator in the bank. She was in HR. She headed up HR teams, and she sort of travelled around the world doing it as well. But a few years before that, she'd taken a step back to have a different kind of lifestyle, because she's one of those people who would just work and work and work and work. I mean, she worked ridiculous hours. Like midnight was not unusual for her. And but she'd taken a break. And she decided to take up a career in education. It was as a business manager at a new school, a private school. And but she found out it was a lot less salary, but she didn't have anyone to delegate to, so it didn't work out as well for her. And she'd taken a break to go to Jamaica for a few months and decide what to do next. And luckily for me, it was at that point that I found out about all this. So it was just perfect timing.
Perfect timing.
Because I doubt that she would have left like one of those jobs to join me, because she was at a turning point and she hadn't decided what to do next.
So she was pretty open to the idea of something new.
Well, it surprised me, because she's a very cautious person and she doesn't have faith in herself she should do. She should have more faith than me because she's got more evidence than I would have. But she can always see everything that can go wrong. So I was surprised. She just said she was going to come into it 50-50.
That's nice. I'm just doing that movement because I can see there's a nice synergy and balance then between your relationship. You're probably the not risk taker person maybe, and she's the more the balanced risk person. So how did you use that to then? How was that in your business? But obviously I want to hear about the first deal, but then I want to know about how that was in the business.
It turns out that I'm like the strategy person, but I'm also a person who can make things happen. Sometimes the strategy person is not necessarily the person who can make things happen. But I'm very much on the vision for the business, the marketing, the new ideas.
Sounds like me.
But Nikki's about making it happen in terms of delivering it. To a consistent standard, like the contracts, the finances. It's quite a high transaction business if you've got a lot of properties, and a lot of tenants. So we've got bookkeepers, accountants, and all sorts. And she keeps on top of all of that side of it.
Amazing.
No, that's good. It's good to have, like, when you said at the start, you were kind of scared and things like that. It's good to have someone there with you, because then if it goes wrong, it goes wrong for both of you. Or, if it doesn't, if it goes well, then, it's been two of you that have made it happen. It hasn't just been you on your own. You've had that sort of comfort in having someone next to you.
100%.
So I think that's what happened with us as well. Like, when we first wanted to do something, it's, just the idea is quite daunting. But then when you've got someone beside you say, okay, let's both do it, then you think, this might not be so hard. So,
I don't know generally don't know how people do business by themselves. Like for every venture that I go down, it has to be with someone.
No, but you know why? It's because they want to say, I did this by myself.
Yeah, I understand.
All me, But sometimes, you having that can actually hold you back, because you can get stuff done at a much quicker pace if you just partner up with someone. So but I did like the fact that you partnered up with your sister, a family member too, at that, because some people would avoid that, but it kind of worked out good for you. So
and the first deal, how did you come across it? Through an agent? Was it through landlord?
It was an agent.
How did that come across?
Oh my gosh, I was such a wreck, because people see me now and they think, oh, it's okay for you, Steph. That's how a lot of people start up conversations. It's okay for you, Steph, because but I think people think I'm really confident. Obviously I am a lot more confident now in property than I was, because I've got so much experience now. But I wasn't a confident person per se. And so the idea of going into the letting agency and starting talking and
pitching yourself.
When you look back, it is scary, It really is scary. Like
it is.
What was your first experience and how was that?
So I was living in Bristol at the time and working at a bank, and I was coming to Newport at the weekend in Wales, which is about an hour away from Bristol. And I had this one Saturday morning, I had 3 properties to view with a letting agent. And so we were viewing them, but on the way back, I said something stupid, like I wanted to manage them myself. So she's realised that she's now wasted all of this time going around these 3 properties with me. I didn't click on at the time.
Oh, right.
But I broke the cardinal rule of relationships, which is, especially business relationships, you're both giving something to each other. So suddenly she can see that I'm not giving her anything.
So she thought you were there as a tenant, as like a potential tenant. Is it that? Or?
I thought I'd explained what I wanted, but I think she thought, I could tell from afterwards when I look back on how the conversation went, that she thought that the outcome was that she would be managing the properties, because after I said that's when things went frosty and she never replied to anything again. So I'm sort of now in Newport Town Centre, where all the letting agents are, but I'm feeling so, when you really down on yourself, you think, I shouldn't have done this, I shouldn't have said that, I should have done this better, I should have done that better. But I was at the beginning, so of course I'm going to make mistakes. So I'm standing there thinking I should just get over this, get the train back to Bristol. And then I just suddenly thought, it's like a voice came to me and said, it's like, you know, when there's two of you, there's the one who wants to...
or one shoulder and then the other shoulder.
Yeah, it's the one who wants to stay safe.
Yeah.
Stay in the cave, don't go out, it's dangerous out there, anything could happen.
Anything could happen.
And the other one's saying, you can do this, go for it, Steph. So I listened to the go for it, Steph, and I think, because I had this like fire in my belly, I describe it as, from that moment that I had that thought with Mum after that call, I felt like I had a bit of a push. And I also had this voice that's saying, you've got to do it now. It's now or never for you. Because like 45 is not a spring chicken. And I just felt like you've let everything go past you. Don't let anything go past you now. Everything that's here for you is here for you.
Yeah.
And like what you were saying, Kenny, is that... you worry about if it goes wrong. Well, I worried, but then I realised the worst that could happen out of all of it was that it wouldn't work out and I'd get another job. So I wouldn't be any worse off, but I'd know that I'd tried, so I'd still be better off to know that you've tried and give it your best shot. So I having all of that in my mind, I went in there and I asked the woman, have you got any HMOs? And she says, oh no, she says, we don't do any of that kind of thing. And,
sometimes I just feel like they don't know what it is either. So sometimes you have to break it down to them. And when they see that the maths works, they're thinking, okay, this might sound too good to be true. You know, but it really is what we're saying it is. But, you know, when you talk, I like to dissect certain things, you know, that you've mentioned. And sorry, my mind just went blank. This happens often, but okay. Oh yeah, so you're talking about the two voices that you were hearing, and it's gone.
Well, I'll just add to it. It's that what I've realised in the last 6 years is that you're successful when you listen to the voice that's future focused and success, and you're not listening to the fear-based voice, which is your most powerful voice. Your most powerful voice. And the reason why it's your most powerful voice is one of our inner drives is to stay alive. It's a strong drive.
And security and safe.
And so that's why it's so hard for most people to be successful.
It makes sense.
And that's why it was harder for me to be successful before. But now I realise actually there's nothing to be afraid of. You know, you're in the ones trying to keep you safe.
And it brings me back to the point that I've just remembered now. So what you did is you almost looked at it and then you weighed out your options. You know, okay, if it goes well, we know what could happen. We already know that part. But if it goes bad, what's the worst that could happen? And then if the worst that could happen isn't that bad, why not? You know. So
But I think you're probably downplaying it a bit, to be fair. Because I won't lie, like the first rental when I got was 2 years out of uni. And I remember thinking, like at that stage, like especially sometimes being from African household and I got a graduate job at that time and everything. Like everyone's happy with me. I remember telling my mum I'm moving to Birmingham and I'm gonna start doing business, property. She just looked at me like I'm crazy, and I said, "No, but in my head, I'm 20. I'm in my 20s. Like, isn't this time to try stuff out and stuff like that?" So I can imagine you having actually family, a stable job, good income.
Oh yeah, it must have been a lot.
I know you're saying that it's sort of like there's not, but I think it's so brave of you at that stage to say actually. I'm going to go for this. Don't get me wrong. At that point, you probably have more credentials and you can probably balance it out. But I think the fact that you just went for it at that stage, like that's really brave. That's the actual brave, because we did it when we didn't really have anything to lose, really. Like it was a bit. We can go back home to parents' house and
if all fails,
if all fails, I'll go back to my mom's couch. So I think you're probably downplaying it. So I think it's incredibly brave of you at that stage, but I think it speaks to those people in that position. Probably people out there in their 30s and 40s. Maybe they've just got married, they've got some kids. Like they're just at a position where it's like, can I still try this stuff out? But you're saying still basically go for it. Just maybe, obviously maybe have like a pot to fall back on. But
each person's got their own things. Because obviously I didn't have little kids at that time. My son was older and had moved to Birmingham and working in IT, so I didn't have that same responsibilities. And also I can choose what my outgoings are, where I want to live, and what my cost of living is going to be, and I can live anywhere I want. So, so for me, it just felt like I couldn't not do it. It's the first time in my life I've really felt like this sort of drive and ambition in such a consistent way. Other times it would just come and go. Yeah. But so I went into the agent and I said, have you got any HMOs? And she started to tell me all the reasons why she wasn't entertaining the idea, because they were part of a big chain, a national chain of letting agents. And for all of these reasons, they would have to go to HQ and HQ would have to say it was okay. And of course, the contracts wouldn't be okay. But I said, just came to me. I don't know where it came from. I hadn't planned to say this, but it just came to me to say, what about your introduction only landlords? Because some landlords just want tenant find only from the letting agent. So I said, maybe then if you had any tenant find only landlords, the landlords can see if they want to work with us. And for you, you'll see our work also. And then you might want to offer it to your fully managed.
Nice. So
and she
offered the value at that point. You added the value to her then at that point,
So she immediately started showing me to these 2 big screens where they had some 2 HMOs, and we went to see them the next week. It was me and Nikki and the letting agent and the landlord.
Wow.
And it was so funny because I took some pictures, some like snapshots on my phone. And we're both there. You know, I've actually got a clipboard, no joke. And we go around saying what we would and wouldn't do and how we would change this and that.
Wow.
And the landlord was in his 50s. He'd been doing it for over 30 years. Didn't really need the money from it because he had a full-time job which he loved. Didn't have any kids. Wow. Just liked his life, and he liked the idea of having the guaranteed rent. And I thought we should offer £700 a month. You probably won't believe this. This is a 5-bed HMO.
Wow.
He had been previously trying to rent them out at, I think it was 1,400. But he'd knocked it down to 800. It had been 900, but he'd knocked it down to 800.
He really didn't need the money then, did he?
To try and get people in, because there were no students anymore.
Okay.
And he just wanted a group all together.
Okay.
Not individuals. And he couldn't find anyone. And luckily for us, previous the week, he'd had a viewing of some 4 guys, contractors or whatever, but apparently, according to him, they smelt, and he didn't get a good.
You didn't get a good vibe from them.
He didn't get a good vibe.
Okay, cool.
You know, smell nice, guys. If you're going to view, smell nice.
And dress up as well.
You know what I mean?
So that was it, and we came there with our clipboard saying all that we were going to do and that, and he liked the idea of the guaranteed rent, and we offered £600 a month. And I thought, we're never going to get it. The letting agent is just going to laugh at us. And we'd sent this offer email to the agent to pass on. And for whatever reason, I was sitting at my desk in Bristol at the bank, and I saw my phone going, and I had the agent's number saved, so I could see it was him. So I was sort of juggling my phone. I nearly dropped my phone, and I ran out to the area so I could speak to him. And I could not believe it when he said that's it. That's your first property.
Wow.
It's 2, because it was a 5-bed and a 4-bed from the same owner. A couple of doors down.
So that's how you got in.
Street.
And that is how you got in.
That's how we got in.
Obviously, I'm going to dissect again because you said some things. So you mentioned that when you had this phone convo or this convo that they weren't so on it, they weren't saying yes straight away, but then you offered something else. And I think that is so important because some people might have just heard that and just thought, that's it, and then just dropped the phone. Okay, sorry, and then dropped. But you were still going, you still thought, okay, how can we leverage this? What can I do? We know what you don't want, so what can I offer you that you do want? And I just think you doing that, if you hadn't done that, who knows where you'd be today?
And I think that's an important point for the podcasters, listeners for the podcast, is that people think business is about being sneaky and creating situations where you win and nobody else is win. But really and truly, business is about creating win-win situations. And you created a win-win-win one with
and just
the
giving
agent.
People value.
And giving people value. And then you got what you want. And that property, how was that? How did they end up running? Were they good? You still got them?
We've still got them. Obviously, we loved that guy because he was the first guy. He knew it was our first properties. But I mean, I think being in his position, I would give it to us because these two girls turned up. You could see that we really cared about the property, that we were really going to do a good job. And he said afterwards he could see that we were a bit green. He didn't know if we would last, but he thought that we had, kind hearts. And I don't think he used the word kind-hearted, but he just thought that we were good people. And so if it went wrong, it would be okay. He would just take his property back. But he thought he just thought he would take a chance. And I think that's a lot of the time, isn't it? That's what we do as individuals, as landlords ourselves. If you had to decide to give your property to somebody for guaranteed rent.
It's true. Even to a tenant, you need to make sure you get a good feel. You need to get a good feel from them.
You need to get a good feel.
Yeah.
And the number one thing is you want somebody who you think is a good person, and inverted commas, who's not going to be deceitful or trying to rip you off.
I think,
do you know what? I was going to say, let's take a short break. Okay, cool. And then part 2, let's go into, more about the business side of things, how you've scaled up to where you are today. We want to talk about the book and, maybe end with some advice that you have for all the listeners listening, especially the young women. Stay tuned for part 2.
Stay tuned, guys. Stay tuned.
Cool.